Hi everybody, меня зовут Paweł Jędrzejewski, and that will be all about my Russian skills. So I'll be talking about Cilius project and quick introduction. I'm a huge believer in the open source. I think it's the best way to develop software nowadays. That the competition and collaboration drives the growth. I'm Symfony and BDD evangelist. I try to spread these ideas with as much as I can. I created the Cilius project. Now I'm working as a lead developer, actually. And I work as a Symfony 2 and Cilius consultant. Currently, I'm mostly busy helping overnightprints.com moving their legacy app to Symfony and Cilius. I came here from Łódź, from Poland. It's a beautiful city. You should definitely visit it if you have a chance. And I would like to start with a few questions to you. How many of you do Symfony 2 e-commerce applications at work? And so anything related to shopping carts, products, inventory, etc.? Okay. And is there anyone who actually used some of the Cilius bundles in his project? I see you. Okay, that's pretty cool. So in this talk, I won't be trying to sell Cilius to you as a product because it's not really something finished or ready to use like other e-commerce solutions. But I believe that in the past few years, PHP has changed a lot. We have Symfony, we have Composer, we have so many new tools, techniques. We are learning from other languages, these more enterprise. And with this evolution and with this flexibility of modern frameworks like Symfony, I think there is a space for another e-commerce solution, mostly for you, for the developers. But with some time and help from you, I think at some point we will be able to be interesting for the business as well. So this is a very subjective opinion, but I think that the Symfony is what started this revolution, and the Symfony community is the thing that still accelerates it as it goes. So in the simplest words, Cilius is an e-commerce solution for PHP. The whole thing started when I discovered Symfony 2. Actually, it was Symfony Reloaded, a small banner in the right side of the old Symfony project website. It started as a set of bundles, so I had two customers who were in a need for a web shop. It was pretty, the two apps were pretty similar, so I decided I would go with Symfony. Obviously, I didn't want to do everything twice, so I used the bundles system. At some point, the bundles were not enough because you had to integrate them for every app. For example, the cart with the products, you had to integrate it all the time. So we started working, I believe it was beginning of this year, on the main application, which is a standard web shop. And Cilius bundles are already used in production by developers and some companies. For example, 20th Century Films has built a business-to-business e-commerce application using Cilius bundles. Some of the projects, you can see them in the showcase on our website. So the three main values that we care about in a Cilius project is the people. We have a pretty growing community. I consider this the biggest achievement with Cilius, that we have almost 100 contributors. Most of these people joined us this year, some of them last year, and it's maybe not impressive compared to Symfony because we are much smaller, but still, I'm very proud of it. And as you see, the simplest things are equally important like the big things, so small pull requests as well. When we started the main application, I also insisted that we focus on the quality. That's why we adopted full stack BDD with VHAT and PHP spec. In my opinion, it's the perfect combination for it, for story BDD and spec BDD. So the perfect workflow for us is when we start new feature with a request for comments issue. We discuss the idea and eventual implementation. Then people write Behat features. Then we do it. Then we merge, and here it is. Actually, it's not always that perfect because not everyone is familiar with Behat. So if someone comes with an idea or already implemented some bundle, we try to help him with writing the Behat. Here's an example of one of our features. It describes the card taxation. Thank you. And not many people mention it, but Behat is also a great documenting tool because you can just read this scenario and it gives you some pretty good idea how the Silius taxation system works, how taxes are applied. Same goes for PHP spec specifications. Here you can see two examples which describe one of our services. It's the promotion applicator which applies a valid promotion to a subject. In the top you can see the specification, the examples, and in the bottom you can see the output on Travis. So you can also go to the specification, just read it, and it gives you some idea of how the service works, that it should not apply promotions that are not eligible, or it should apply the correct promotions. The result of using Behat and PHP spec is pretty good. This is a scrutinizer tool. It performs various checks on the code, it measures the complexity, etc. Some of the code was written before we started using PHP spec, especially in the bundles. So if you want to contribute, these few classes are a good start to refactor. The quality comes with the reviews. This is a pull request about payment integration. I merged it like 2 weeks ago. So you can see that over 70 people discussed the code and reviewed it. Some of them just said nice work, but some of them made some valid comments about the code. And the third thing is flexibility. And this is what we focus most. With Silius we have a choice. First option is to use the bundles directly. It's a set of 19 bundles. They're fully independent. You can build your own platform from it, from the ground. You can integrate e-commerce into your existing application. For example, if you have a bookstore application where you have some book model and your customer needs to introduce new feature like cart, you can just get Silius cart bundle and integrate it. The main application is a standard web shop. It's highly customizable, just like the bundles, and it should be very familiar to every Symfony 2 developer. So in this presentation, I will mostly focus on the bundles because the main application is still in development. It's not very finished. So the most important bundle is Silius Resource Bundle. It works on top of the FOSS REST bundle that Lucas was talking about. And some time ago, in our sandbox application, which was a playground to show how to integrate the bundles and experiment with new features, we had the problem that for every model, for a product, for an order, we had the two controllers for the backend and for the frontend. It was very annoying. There was tons of duplicated code for the simplest crude actions like update resource, delete resource, etc. We kind of had a layer of unnecessary complexity with custom managers and manipulator services. Silius focuses on the doctrine ORM implementation, but the bundles also support MongoDB in some cases. And also we wanted to make the controllers format agnostic as a foundation for our future API. So the installation of this bundle is pretty straightforward. You just include the required bundles in the kernel. Then you can start configuring your first resource. In this case, it's a user. So you need to just create your model, your user class. The repository and controller configuration is not required. You get default services, but you can override them. And what you get after configuring the user resource is a user controller service, with 5 actions: show action for displaying the resource, index for displaying multiple resources, create for creating new resource, update and delete. I think they're pretty obvious and they kind of match the HTTP verbs. So when you finally configure this resource, you don't need to do anything more except the templates. You can start defining roles. In the first example, we simply display user by his ID. And nothing more is necessary here. The action will use the repository of the user, look in the database by ID, and return it to the template as a user tweak variable. If in case you want to display user by his username, you simply override the pattern. You create custom criteria. Here we display only enabled users. You can also customize the template, and you do not need to actually make a new action for all this. It simply works. Also, if you want to optimize the queries, you can override the default method, because for the show action, the repository method find one by will be used. With this example, the repository will use find one for profile page, and you can make custom queries there, etc. The index action is for displaying multiple users. So, for example, if you want to get a list of disabled users, you simply configure a route using the index action. As with the show action, you can specify the criteria, you can specify the template, and actually much more. If by default the index action creates a paginator for the users or any other resource, but you can change it to return a flat list, like top 5 recently registered users, using the criteria, sorting, paginate, options for the route. Same goes for update actions, delete actions, and create actions. You can customize a lot. You can customize the redirect without creating another action just to go to another page. You can use custom forms by default. I want to clarify that this bundle is not a kind of admin generator, because it won't create forms for you. It won't create grids. It kind of provides just the basic API and foundation for managing the resources. So you have to create the form yourself. We are thinking about introducing some kind of form generator, which will be very basic. It will just use the internal Symfony guessing logic. But you can override the default and use your custom forms without creating new action. Actually, our documentation is far from good, but this bundle has the best one in the collection, so we can check it out. It has much more options. So about the bundles in general, every bundle has very similar configuration to this resource bundle, because you can override the models, the controller class, the repository, the form, the validation groups. Here we have an example of Silius taxation bundle. So yeah, you can use your custom models. You don't need to use what Silius provides. You can simply implement the interface. We are using standard doctrine repositories, so you can also customize them or use the defaults, as well as the form class, form type class. Also, the default controller is a resource controller, but you can simply extend it, add your custom actions, and configure it to be used instead of the default one. The same case with repositories. All Silius models ship with default validation mapping, which is using Silius group. It's very similar to false user bundle, for example, and you simply configure it, configure your own group to be used if you don't need or want the default validation. We are using a thing called doctrine resolve target entity listener, which allows us to define the relations between models using interfaces and not real implementations. So for example, if you want to use your custom product model class, you don't need to override all the other models which have the relation to this. So it all happens transparently. You just select your new class and, for example, order items reference your new class. Otherwise, you would need to redefine the mapping for all related. So the default controllers also are full of events. You can use these events to customize the actions even more, like pre-create, pre-delete, post-create, post-update, and so on. So the first bundle in the collection is Stylus product bundle. It provides very basic product model with attributes called properties. It also supports prototypes, which are product templates. And you can use another bundle which is called Stylus variable product bundle. It's a pretty long name, but it describes what the bundle does. And it automatically enables the support of options and different variations of products. So here's an example of Sommelier Brief project for which we used the Stylus product catalog. We actually customized it a lot because here you can see a package of products. So we have full control over the models. And order bundle and cart bundle are the only bundles which are somehow connected, because the card model extends the order. Before it was different. We had separate, fully separate bundles, but there was hell of a duplication between them. So we unified it, and we simply use the order model as a card with a state card. You can easily customize the order item models and order item forms. The results are pretty nice because you can simply introduce your own properties like special packaging, gifts, options for each item. So this is all Stylus card, but customized with very little effort. So the addressing bundle provides you very simple address model, so you don't need to create it for every app. It also supports countries and provinces. It has a very cool zone system, which allows you to group, for example, group countries into a zone called European Union. It is very useful for taxation and shipping purposes. So, for example, when you have a billing address of an order, you can use the zone matcher service to find the best matching zone, and based on that you can apply taxes, display right shipping methods for the shipping address, etc. Inventory bundle is built around just one interface, which you need to implement with your model. It's not coupled to the product catalog we have, so you simply implement this interface and you can start tracking your inventory. It's mostly based on events. It supports some features like items available on demand or back orders. So if you have already have an app with some products or anything which is not built with Stylus, it's not a problem. You can simply add this bundle and add this feature. The taxation bundle is about taxes. It's also built around this simple interface. You can define any entity to be a subject of taxation. You can have multiple tax categories and rate support. It also has very flexible system of calculators, so the default calculator handles two taxes, included in price and excluded from price. But you can simply register a new calculator as a service, and then when you are creating a tax rate, you can select it from the list and it will use this one instead. So shipping bundle is about shipments. It also has this one interface you have to implement. It helps you managing all the shipments, the tracking, the shipping methods. It has a system of custom shipping rules, which is, I don't have enough time to describe it, but as well as taxation, it has this calculator system. So this is an example for calculator. It's per item rate calculator. It simply takes the amount from configuration and multiplies it by the amount of items on the subject. The shipment interface extends the shipping subject interface, so you can use it right away with shipments. But you can also implement this interface by other model and perform the calculation on it. So you simply return the name of the configuration form. You define the configuration schema using the options resolver component. And after that, you register it in the container using the tags, and the new calculator appears on the shipping method creation form, and also it has this configuration form you defined in this class. So we can do pretty complex and custom stuff with this. Taxonomies bundle is used to classify stuff, and it's also not coupled to the products. You can use it to categorize anything you want. For example, if you create several taxonomies like category, brand, or special, we have included form types which render like that and allows the user to select multiple taxons. The flow bundle is actually the only one which still uses PHP unit. It had pretty good coverage, so I decided that it's not necessary to remove it and use PHP spec. It's useful for anything which takes more than one action to complete, so checkouts, installation wizard, complex actions. An action is a simply controller which has two actions. A step is a controller which has two actions, display and forward actions, and you can build scenarios just like Symfony forms. So we have a security step, addressing step, shipping step, payment step. These are all steps, and the bundle makes sure that the user doesn't access any step too far in the process. It does a lot of, and actually Oro CRM and Akeneo, as far as I know, they are using this bundle for their installers as well. The Payum bundle is a new bundle in our family. It was created like it was merged into the Cilius like 2 weeks ago. It integrates the Payum library into Cilius checkout. Payum is a quite new and maybe not very well known library for handling payments. Currently, it's pretty coupled to Cilius. I haven't tried replacing it with something else, but the idea is that if you don't like Payum, you simply switch the bundle with your own or another one created in future, and you have new payment system for the checkout. So it's decoupled from the core and from the application itself. Currently, it supports only PayPal Express checkout and Stripe, but these were the ones we selected for a proof of concept. It also uses another library called OmniPay for a bridge, and this one supports much more than Stripe for the credit card checkout, so in the future we will support many more. The settings bundle is useful if you want to have one or many global configurations for your application. So if you want to allow user to configure anything you want, you simply define a settings schema, which is just a class which implements interface. In one method, you build the settings. The settings builder is actually an instance of the options resolver component you know from the forms. So you can define the defaults, the allowed types. In the next method, you build the form, which is then used to display it to user and edit these settings. And you can, actually we have more here because it's a screenshot from Cilius. And you can access these values from Twig or from services, from a service called Settings Manager. The promotions bundle are pretty flexible as well. They are not coupled to Cilius order in any way or cart. You can use it in your own application. It has a very flexible actions and rules system. It also supports promotion coupons. And the basic promotion is built from a collection of actions and rules. Each rule contains a reference to a service and a configuration for this service. And this is the interface that this service has to implement. It checks if the promotion subject is, with the given configuration, is supported by this promotion. So, for example, it checks if an order is valid for this promotion. The actions, this is a sample action. It's pretty simplified. There are a few more things to do here, like checking if the package really exists, etc. I just simplified it for the slides. In this example, we have an action which finds the package in the database and it adds it to cart. to a custom card. And here it is how it looks in Cilius. We have rules and actions. The screenshot is not so clear. But it's the same case like with all the calculators. You select the type of the action or select the type of the rule, and it displays the correct configuration form. I'll talk briefly about Cilius application, but it's not really ready for use if you don't do a lot of Symfony or you are not ready for some work, because it's not completed yet. It's not ready to use as other e-commerce solutions. So for example, before 2 weeks ago, you had to implement the payments yourselves. Even I did it for the projects. But now it's better, and it's getting better every week. The installation is pretty simple. For contributing to the project, you simply create a project with Composer with Cilius/Cilius name. The Cilius Standard Edition, this is a pretty new idea. As we are doing a lot of development right now, we kind of are behind. The Cilius Standard is a bit behind the Cilius itself. But the idea is that in future, Cilius Standard is the starting point for you, because it won't include unnecessary bundles like installer, because we have a web installer too. It will be clean as Symfony Standard Edition. The main application is built with actually 2 bundles. The Cilius Core bundle, which integrates all the other bundles together. For example, connects the products with cart, the products with shipping, and so on. It's a very basic web shop, which can be pretty heavily customized, and it contains all the models and services needed it to work. The web bundle is the interface, which works on the top of the core. I never tried it, but the idea is that in future, you simply remove the Cilius web bundle if you don't want the HTML interface we provide, and use only the API and run the web shop through mobile app or something like that. So we just decoupled these 2 parts, and it's split into front-end and back-end parts, which is pretty obvious. So this is our ugly front-end. We are using Twitter Bootstrap to prototype it. I'm currently talking to a designer, a friend of mine, who is willing to help with that. This is the guy who designed our website, so it should be pretty nice. But I'm not kind of rushing with it, because we add new features constantly. To be honest, I don't have idea how much time I have left. This is our backend. I spared a sleepless night to make it a little prettier, because before it was pretty ugly. There's still a lot of work in terms of user experience, etc. That's why I hope that you will help with that. But it looks nicer than it was. To give you some idea how, for example, the checkout works, it's using the Cilius Flow bundle, and it's mostly event-based. This is really the simplicity that every step has. It just takes the order, displays a form, dispatches events, and everything that happens around the order is event-based. So the payments, the inventory, the promotions, shipping, taxation, all is processed through interfaces. You can replace these services to use your own. You can add some logic through the events, pretty much anything you want. The things that I want to do in the coming months is improving the documentation, which is kind of terrible right now. I really regret I haven't spent more time on it, but it's getting better and better. As I said before, the new default theme. Our translations, Cilius is translated into several languages, but none of the translation is complete or synchronized with English. The idea is that we manage the translations through the crowd-in service, but we haven't worked out how to do it properly, because it needs to synchronize the crowd-in API and the GitHub, and it's not that easy. Polishing the checkout process, so there's a pull request waiting with some stuff like confirmation emails, etc. We wanted to, as Lucas was talking about REST, Our controllers are based on the REST bundle, so if anyone wanted to use API with Silius, he got it. But we want to do it right, so we are waiting for the Bazinga to be stable and to release with some documentation. And actually bringing API to Silius is a matter of configuring the serializer and some routing, because the controllers are already there. We also want to integrate Symfony CMF for the content management, because Silius doesn't have any bundle for managing pages and stuff like that. There is also this create.js tool, which is, some of you may not know it, but it's a tool for inline editing the content. So you can simply edit the products in the front end. And so the things that are waiting in the pull request, to give you some idea how fast we move, this is mostly work of last month. So we have customer group support, subscriptions, product reviews, there's initial integration of CMF. I played with it a bit. Facebook login, Amazon login, and some stuff like that. So this is our last month. Yeah, compared to Symfony, it's not that impressive, but still, I'm very happy with how many people contribute. So thank you. If you have any questions.